You know, they say your movie can only be good as your lead cast and your cameos and supporting actors. Now, this movie has been forgotten by a lot of John Wayne, Frank Sinatra, and Kirk Douglas fans because it's been forgotten. Now, the movie's called Cast a Giant Shadow. The 66 American action film was based on the life of Colonel Mickey Marcus and stars Kirk Douglas, Senator Berger, Topol, Yul Brynner, John Wayne, Frank Sinatra, and Angie Dickinson. Melville Shavelstill adapted, produced, and directed this movie. The film is a fictionalized account of experience as a real-life Jewish American military officer, Colonel David Mickey Marcus, who commanded units of the fledgling Israel Defense Forces during the 48 Arab-Israeli War. Now, this movie, obviously, Exodus, did well, and he probably felt the same momentum for Exodus would continue with this one. Now, Marcus is an Army Reserve colonel in the Judge Advocate General Corps, which was recently released from active duty, is now working in New York City. He is approached by a Haganah agent, Major Safir, who requests his assistance in preparing Israeli troops to defend the newly declared state against an invasion by its Arab neighbors. Marcus is refused permission by the Pentagon to go unless he travels as a civilian. The Haganah gives him a false passport with the alias Michael Stone. As Michael Stone, he arrives in Israel to be met by a Haganah member, Magda Simon. Marcus, who parachuted in occupied France during World War II and helped organize a relief mission for one of the first Nazi concentration camps liberated by the Americans, is initially viewed with suspicion by some Haganah soldiers. But after he leads a commando raid on an Arab arms dump and assists in the landing of illegal refugees, he is more accepted. After preparing training manuals for the troops, he returns to New York where his wife has suffered a miscarriage. Despite his wife's pleadings, he returns to Israel, is given a command of Jerusalem front with the rank of Aluf, general, a rank not used since biblical days. He sets to work, recognizing that, while the men under his command do not have proper training or weapons, or even a system of ranks, they do have spirit and determination. He organizes the construction of the Burma Road, bypassing Latrun to enable convoys to reach besieged Jerusalem, where the population is on the verge of starvation. Many of the soldiers under his command are newly arrived in Israel, determined and enthusiastic, but untrained. Dubbing them the Schnooks, Marcus has inspired them to discover that he's proud to be a Jew. But just before the convoy of trucks to Jerusalem starts out, he is shot and killed by a lone sentry who does not speak English, the last casualty before the UN imposes a truce. The coffin containing his body is carried down the Burma Road by an honor guard of the soldiers he trained and inspired. So Angie Dickinson plays Emma Marcus, Yul Brynner as Asher, John Wayne as General Mike Randolph, Frank Sinatra as Vilma Telmaji, Ruth Wife as Mrs. Chassot, Topol as Abu Abin Kader, and Michael Douglas in a cameo as a Jeep driver. Now, John Wayne is a general again. Marcus is commanding officer in the Second World War, now a senior general at the Pentagon, who initially refused the permission to go, but later supports him. Yul Brynner plays a Haganah commander, Asher, and Frank Sinatra plays Vince, an expatriate American pilot who takes part in what becomes a suicide mission to bomb Arab positions. Now, when Shavelson first wrote a treatment about Mickey Marcus at 48, no studios were interested because of the film industry's reluctance to deal with Jewish subjects, and well as feared that theaters in Egypt might be expropriated. Shavelson also alleged a lingering pogrom mentality among some Jewish executives who did not wish to draw attention to Jewish background in the New York Times interview. Shavelson acquired her film rights to Berkman's novel Cast a Great Shadow for $12,500 after it was dropped by MGM. Shavelson enlisted the support of John Wayne, and with his help, it was financed and distributed by United Artists. Originally, George Segal was planned to be cast as Mickey, alongside Diana Halland as Emma, and either Claudia Cardinale or Dahlia Lavi as Magda. Carolyn Jones and Richard Harris were also considered for roles in the film. The film was also meant to include depictions of Arias Truman, George S. Patton, Maxwell D. Taylor, and David Ben-Gurion. Originally, a young Michael Douglas was intended to play the sentry who shoots Marcus at the end of the film, but this was cut because he was the lead actor's son, and the idea was deemed extremely gimmicky. Now, principal photography began on May 1865 in Israel after several weeks of location shoots in New York City. Early planning also called for scenes to be filmed in France and Washington, but this did not occur. Both Macy's Herald Square and Marcus's real-life house in Brooklyn appeared in the film. Now, as it stands, shooting took place at numerous places in the Arab world and the Jewish world: Jerusalem, the Negev, Nazareth, Galilee, and Paul Shemin. Israeli army soldiers were used as extras, and as a result, the filming was frequently disrupted by real-life Arab-Israeli conflict, as they were called away to fight skirmishes against Jordan or Palestinian Fedayeen. The final week of production took place in Italy, while some interior scenes were already being filmed because of housing shortages in Israel and a mistake which led to the crew's hotel reservations in Tel Aviv expiring 1 week early. Filming took place at the Sinatra studios in Rome, while the Battle of Jerusalem scenes were shot at the Alban Hills in Frascati. Now, the New York Times didn't like the film, specifically the directing, calling it confusing, often superficial biography that leads a good deal on comic or extremely salty dialogues and effects. The reviewer said that in trying to fuse the many aspects of Marcus's life in the Titanic figure, which evolved, sadly, is an amalgam of all manufactured movie heroes. It also received a poor reception at the San Sebastian International Film Festival. A reviewer at the Louisville Courier-Journal called it a phony, nosy bore, featuring the sorriest of film cliches and the hollowest of romantic claptrap. New York Daily News gave the film 4 stars and calling a rousing adventure pick and a drama of historical significance and of human interest. In 2006, Andrew Wolf from the New York Sun praised the filmmakers for the pro-Jewishness of the film, something he believes could not be done in modern Hollywood. However, referred to as an awful film from a technical standpoint, heavily criticized for the fictitious love interest subplot. It was released on DVD in the early 2000s, but out of print. It was re-released on DVD and the first time on Blu-ray on my birthday, August 26, 2014. Given a mild recommendation, DVD talks that the cast has work that is better than the script that has been provided. So just to recap some of the particulars, because if you don't like the movie, this is why. Written by Ted Berkman based on his book, and Melville Shavelson, the screenplay. Produced by Shavelson. Cinematography by Aldo Tanti. Edited by Bert Bates and Gene Ruggiero. Music by the great Elmer Bernstein. Production companies including Batjack Productions, the Mersch Corporation, and Lion Rock Productions. Distributed by UA. Release date March 30th, 66. 146 minutes. English, of course, and a not too bad 3.5 million at the box office. But ladies and gentlemen, John Wayne, Yul Brynner, Kirk Douglas, and Frank Sinatra, Topol, Dickinson, a piece of history. I'd like to see this movie get a rebirth. We should have a Jewish TV channel or a Jewish movie channel, because with the Warner Brothers alone, there should be lots to talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our latest in our John Wayne, Frank Sinatra kind of oeuvre. If you like what we're doing here with our look at vintage John Wayne movies that he's been involved with, either as an actor, producer himself, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe. And yes, Kirk Douglas is Jewish. Go figure. Thanks for listening. Bye.